thanks everybody. We now go in that awkward direction of the show. We will deal with that. So this is called Lighting Talks in a program. And the idea was that, just as I said, without a microphone, to meet with each other, so that we know that we met. I know that it's quite busy. It seems that in the developers camp, people really got and know each other, and it works great. This is more like a part of a program where we would like to show to the public, but also to each other, that there are nice initiatives here. And I'm really glad that there are a lot of people from our region doing great stuff, and also like few people not from a region, but more like from the internet in that sense. So it's for us it was really important to do that, to connect internet with geography and people with internet. Let's say so. So I'm just talking too long. I think that I got my points more than twice. So maybe we can start from there, Marko. Then we will hear from all the other institutions. We have, did we get Ljudmila? I think that the only Ljudmila, she's coming. Okay, she will join us. Yeah, Behemot, we've been there yesterday. Yeah, you got compliments for the selection of books. Tribuna, Postmedialab, Učitelj Neznalica, Ignorant Schoolmaster, sorry, I got just too much of Klub Mate, Centar za Radničke Studije, and DPU. Yeah, so let's start.
Okay, thank you, Marcel, and I want to thank you for inviting us as Center for Labor Studies here on this event. I really enjoyed here because I really enjoyed this technical internet kind of discussions, because I'm not so much into it. Okay, I know the basic stuff, especially in its political connotations. But when I'm listening to these more technical presentations, that it's hard for me to follow in all its technical aspects. But it's really somehow inspiring in a kind of social and epistemological sense, because for me, is functioning like some kind of fiction, but with a strong social relevance. Like I'm watching a very nice movie, or really reading sophisticated literature. So it's really nice to be here. And also from my political point, for me it's very nice in this kind of situations when the people are working on software and internet in some kind of combination with the political activists and theorists. There's no Lazzarato Negri and all that stuff. It's really refreshing for me in that sense. So I'm from Zagreb, from the Center for Labor Studies. We've been established this year, and we did some few publications in Croatian social culture bi-weekly journal Zarez, and I had a conference in October. The title of the conference was 2 decades after the end of socialism. So we were discussing the transitional period from the 80s till now, mostly from the young researchers and theorists from the region, like lots of people from DPU. And we are in this phase. We are financed almost completely by Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung, from their office in Belgrade. So our position is really a Marxist one. Our aim is to introduce after the 20 years of the complete evacuation of Marxist tradition. But it started earlier in Yugoslavia, from the not just academic space, but also from the public space in general, to introduce again some Marxism as we think is still the best analytical tool to understand how the society works and how the economy works. But we are trying to act in a non-sectarian and non-dogmatic sense. So we are also including a different kind of heterodox left positions. And that's about it. We are trying. We're doing that. We're organizing conferences. This conference that we held in October will be some kind of annual. Every year we will have this conference, and also publishing and doing some roundtables and lectures through the whole year. For next year, we are planning to publish edited volume of the conference papers of the last year, and to publish in Serbo-Croatian translation of the Michael Heinrich's introduction to Marx Capital. So also we are trying to intervene in the public debates concerning the most urgent and crucial questions in the Croatian, but not just Croatian, let's say in post-Yugoslav society. So that's our aim. We are just started, but I think that we will have some success in next years.
So also, just if anyone has a question in the first round, like from here, then from the public. Oh yeah, Ljudmila. Hi. Yeah. So yeah, that's we can just continue. Yeah. Also, sorry. Many times in these kind of circles, people are shy and don't say the best about them, about themselves. So if you know something about someone else, please tell, and you think that the others should hear. That worked for hackers quite a lot when we had these like introductory circles, and it can be also like more fun. But yeah, it's up to you.
Marko, you are such a good writer. I really enjoy. Yeah, maybe a bit later. But I suppose it's a good thing that I sat here and got the next word after Marko. Hello, my name is Dragan Nikčević. I'm here on behalf of Delavsko punkerska univerza, aka the Workers and Punks University. A lot of what Marko said, I would definitely subscribe beneath it. I believe it's quite a parallel domestic project, with the difference that Centar za Radničke Studije has been founded this year, whereas the WPU has a 16-year tradition by now. It began as a project of the Peace Institute here in Ljubljana, with the explicit aim of, say, breaking a certain intellectual deadlock present in many post-socialist and transitional societies. So its role throughout these years has been mainly educational. Our main projects every year is a yearly cycle of lectures dedicated to a certain topic. Now, throughout the years, they have been, let's say, perhaps more leftist, such as May 68 or Post-Fordism, and things like that, or the New Left and things like that. Other years it has been less leftist, say Love, Sin, Stupidity, Totalitarianism. But now in the past, say 3 or 4 years, I think we have we have decided to go into a more consistent orientation, which is very much akin to what our colleagues in Zagreb are doing. So yes, definitely leftist and definitely Marxist, but we try not to be dogmatic or sectarian or hermetic in our theoretical ramblings. So this is the reason why such things are important. It's not a closed circle, and this is definitely an advantage and something that we will benefit from as well. Now, okay, besides the yearly cycle of lectures, every year we have the Prvomajska škola, or May Day School, happening around the 1st of May, which is sort of a symposium dedicated to some topic. This year it will be primary accumulation and socialist transition. And our third consistent area of activity are reading seminars. This year, a critique of knowledge society, some introductory classes on Marxism, and some historical reading seminars as well. Now, besides this, in the past year or so, we have massively expanded our activities into the area of publishing. We are cooperating with a journal called Borec. We're planning a merger with another publishing house called Sophia. And we hope this is something that is going to grow into a more consistent and systematic coverage of certain theoretical strands. And the third thing that we're quite active in is politics, pure and simple. Things such as austerity measures and the current government and what is happening in Europe are things that deeply affect us. And we well, try to get involved and influence public policy as best as we can. So yeah, that would be sort of our main activities. Now, what interests us here is I think we can have a two-way beneficial relationship. I mean, I think we do have certain topics that are important and interesting, so you are all invited, for instance, on Friday on the reading seminar that we're going to organize. And in the opposite way, well, we try to expand what we do into different media. And well, we're definitely not computer illiterates, but on the other hand, we will need help with certain projects. I'm afraid to offer you to visit our webpage because it's from circa 1994 or something, programmed in HTML.
That gets back in trend. It's like a...
Yeah, so it's a museum exhibition. It should belong over to the spectrums over there. So, I mean, I mentioned reading seminars, for instance, and this is something, for instance, that should happen over the internet as well. I don't know, my vision, for instance, are things like SoundCloud, that you can comment on a certain second. Why not have a reading seminar with a text where you can comment on a part of a page, and do it not necessarily at a given time and a given space. So, yeah.
I recommend just use SoundCloud for that. It's parasiting on a corporate infrastructure, but yeah, just start it.
Okay, so to transfer into sound, that's an idea, but I would like to debate on it later on, and I'm going to leave this to my colleagues at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks, Dragan.
Hi, my name is Dan, and I'm a bookseller. And it started some 15 years ago. It was a kind of a fun thing to do. It was a lot of hard work, but it was a fun thing to do. And it was a kind of a nice way to buy my freedom. Yeah, because I didn't want to become like another wheel, and it was a kind of a very nice way to, you know, remain eternally curious and still have enough to pay the rent. 15 years ago, that was in Prague, in Czech Republic. I moved in 2003 to Ljubljana, and in 2005 I opened Behemot bookshop, which is kind of a behemoth bookshop, misspelled, without H at the end. It was a kind of a very, very small, 22 square meters, 2,000 books, which, if you do a very, very quick calculation, it's about one lifetime of reading. And yeah, I was busy with, actually, you know, like a painter with a palette of colors. I was very busy with, you know, if Kafka should be next to Joyce, or if we should really have this Heidegger there. And I didn't really notice all the kind of corporate copyright industry issues that might be behind, you know. I just couldn't imagine a bookshelf without Joyce or Kafka, even if Penguin had rights and sold me those books, you know. Now today I actually have issues and problems with Penguin, or the fact that Penguin has rights to Kafka. But so somewhere maybe like 2 years ago, I'm not a businessman really, you know. I graduated in fine arts, so I don't really pick up very quick on figures, you know, on daily sales and things like that. But 2 years ago, even I realized that things started to go down. And my sales started to, kind of it sucks as a business. It sucks. 2 years continuous going down all the time. So I kind of thought like, oh shit, this is like this huge corporation, Amazon, and people migrating to online book depository. If anybody is local here, they all know it. Yeah, we were all in English bookshop. Did I say that? Yeah. Because it's this Anglo-American, publishing industry. That's where it all comes from. It's the very big force, changing, moving, shifting balance. This is why you feel it before. In domestic publishing, you'll feel it later. Yeah, I thought, okay, I'll fight that. I will say, come on, it's obviously cheaper to order online, but here is a local guy, just here around the corner, and it was a fun to fight 2 years, but it didn't work. It didn't work, and the thing that I realized that it's still wrong. Even if you buy this here, it's still wrong. There is still a problem with who really protects, sells this intellectual property. There are few huge companies. Right now, Penguin and Random House are going to merge into one true behemoth. So I realized, you could say there is a war going on. War has started. And I looked at myself, being busy all these years with, painter's palette. Should Kafka be next to Joyce? Or how to make this perfect shelf, perfect bookshelf that would, speak to you. And I didn't notice this war started. And here I was, in a wrong uniform, wearing a wrong uniform. So what to do about this? Well, the easiest would be, and I started to write on my blog 1 year ago, or in January, yeah, I said, fuck, enough, I have to close, this can't go on. There were some good friends, nice friends, they told me, come on, it's a recession, people don't have money and so on, but to tell the truth, most people I know, they experience cuts like, their salaries are 20% down, and their mortgage rates or whatever loans that they have to pay back are 20% up because of something I don't understand. But and they all say, come on, tighten up. Just you have to endure. Everything will be all right. But I think we all here know that it will never be again all right with book selling. Book selling, bookshop, bookstore, it will become one of those words that we today can't remember anymore how we used to call those crafts, like, 100 years ago, how did they do this? So in 100 years, oh God, they printed those books, and they would ship them in airplanes and trucks, and then there will be this guy, putting them in the shop window. How would you call those shops? And nobody will remember because this was like, in April again, I said, again, this really, can't go on, I'm gonna close. And I had several very nice reactions that actually got me right into that soft spot where somebody has to get me. There was somebody who told me, you didn't really think enough, It's the easiest thing to close. So maybe if you would think, you would realize that you now need to make a step. And this is your problem, you don't know what step to make. So I wrote a letter. It took me 3 weeks. I wrote a letter to the head of the municipal office for cultural affairs, and he was very polite. He said, we don't have money to give you, but if you have any other ideas, then we can talk. I had other ideas, and the City Art Gallery was very kind to invite me to their premises. I don't know if you have been yesterday with us, but tomorrow in the evening. Again, this festival will take place in the ground floor of the City Art Gallery, where Behemot is now as well. 1 month ago we moved. And basically, my line of thinking is the book-selling ecosystem, the balance is shifted beyond point of return. The book-selling ecosystem as it was that supported independent bookstores is irretrievably lost. And it feels like I would be standing on a carpet and somebody would pull the carpet. What I'm trying to do now is to change, to make falling a start of a dance. So to make this understandable, I still, when I look at things, what really happens in the bookshops, there is this one word. It's called, it's serendipity. It's about how people and books meet. How people and people meet, how people and books meet. Serendipity, it's very, very nice word in English, very difficult to translate. Srećno naključje, I think. So basically there are some qualities in the fact that you have real books in a real room. So I would like to distillate those qualities and change the bookshop into something, some kind of a project that would be interesting for a local community. As I told you before, I graduated in fine arts, and 7 years ago, I used to say, even in some media and so on, that I understand bookselling as a form of art. Now, I no longer understand it as a form of art. To me, now this little bookshop is becoming to be a form of activism. So, if you have any ideas, please let me know. You know, it's behemot.si and books@behemot.si. Behemot is misspelled without H at the end. So, you know, let me know. And I will let you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. These kind of things we never can really plan for the program. Thank you very much. It's like a highlight. Yeah, I never could like, yeah. I'm sorry that that there is always that like it's kind of a story about the failure, and then we kind of benefit as a festival. It's like fucking uncanny, but at the same time, thank you very much for this. Yeah.
Hvala.
Yeah, and yeah, at least I think that the public library, maybe. And yeah, I think that it's the same direction. I'm really glad that that we can hear someone, because the like booksellers usually just complain, and that the whole like change is like just irreversibly bad. But maybe it won't be. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe next.
Hello everyone, my name is Robert Bobnic and I'm editor of the student newspaper called Tribuna. It is a printed newspaper, so we are kind of traditional now in this context. Tribuna is a newspaper with quite a large tradition for like almost 60 years, but this tradition was kind of broken down in 1998, and then we started again in 2009. Tribuna also is a very known newspaper, was very known in Yugoslavia because it was a very critical, to say, at least there in the counterculture movement, and in Tribuna were published one of the first critics of the communist regime, and also a lot of very known Slovenian like philosophers and so on were a part of Tribuna in the past. But now in this new new context, new reality, we try to somehow deal with it, and I could talk a lot about our content, but I would like to say that maybe more about the form of newspaper, that we try to really think about what a newspaper is today. So my opinion, my idea is that a newspaper is like some kind of historical form of expression or communication with a really, like some kind of assemblage with a really different elements, like from print to photography, illustration, then genres and ideals of objectivity, if we take journalism and so on, and we try to experiment with all this stuff and to transgress it, and some kind to show that the newspaper could be different as we know it, or as we can imagine what a newspaper is. So maybe just to show something, it's not a big deal, but we really play with stuff, and like this is one article, like infinite article. You can start reading at any point as you want, and you will get the meaning, and also this form is connected with the content and so on. So we try to do this kind of stuff, and we are monthly. We published every month, and we are financed primarily from a student organization, and what else should I say? We do some other stuff, like we work with different initiatives, and we do a theater in September. And the other thing is that now we are in progress of doing a new website, because our current website really sucks. I think it's even worse that website from DPU, as Dragan said. Just like PDFs, and you can download PDFs. But we have a lot of ideas about new website, and maybe Yuri, also one of the editors, will tell us more.
Because we think that this is a topic that would be of most interest to the here gathered public. As Robert said, and I'm going to talk mostly about theoretical and hypothetical things, because currently the web page is at a point where we have to start actually building the whole thing. So we're looking for people who would actually program the thing with and for us. But the general idea is that we start thinking about how we understand the newspaper and how we understand technology and the media. And the crucial idea that we had is that print as a technology is not necessarily limited to printing on paper, but is actually a certain type of organization of information that has certain standards and certain rules that Robert also referred to. For example, in journalism, you have a report, you have a commentary, you have a column, you have different photographies, infographics, and so on, and they all are a certain technology of ordering information. We have noticed that in this sense, when we talk about the transfer to the web of the newspapers, there was no real change in that sense. We have kept these same technologies of producing newspapers. They were preserved in the mainstream media. So this basic thought led us to two things. One is that there can still things can still be done inside the newspaper, the printed version of the newspaper, we can still experiment with form and therefore content inside and on paper, and this usually leads us to this kind of artistic displays that Robert presented, but also on not that visual level, but also like with language and syntax and maybe in the Dada direction. And the other implication of this realization is that when we transfer to the web, we have to think about how we will try to change the technology of production and distribution of the content that we produce. So this is the basic idea of for our new web page, that as it looks now will have two most important elements. One will be, and I think Dragan will be happy to hear this, something that will enable collaborative reading and producing of the newspaper, in the sense of Google Docs maybe, but like freed of this corporation, and maybe improved in the sense that it will integrate other texts like PDFs and things that and so on, and it will also be able to spread in this hyperlink wiki way, in the sense that our newspaper will not be over when one issue is published, but will be able to expand, and also that this metadata that we use when writing a piece will be kept for people to trace, when you quote and so on, so that you will be able to connect your sources with your text. And the other section will try to address the issue of archives and how we search and assemble new texts from already existing texts, and basically we still have to develop this, but we are thinking of breaking up these long texts that are a certain form, a certain technology, into shorter sections that could be tagged and intertwined, and also that sections within these texts, like the large ones, could be tagged and broken apart and like combined in new texts with a certain tag, or with a certain tag that is not just a word, but could be a developed concept on 2 pages and so on. So this is the direction we're thinking in, and I hope you will have some comments or suggestions and so on.
Maybe just one thing really quickly. If you take 1, 2, or 3 different tribunas, you will see that they are really, really different. And that means that we try to, when we do a new issue, really to start from a new. We really resist to have some politics and culture and so on. We don't have an index, or actually we have, but in a kind of different way. So we really try to change the whole production of the newspaper.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
So my name is Clemens. Marcel asked me to represent here the Postmedialab, as it's called, as one of the cooperation partners, I guess, also of the Haip Festival. Yeah, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. And cool. I mean, we started as Postmedialab like 1.5 years ago, and it is in the kind of academic context, which is the Leuphana University of Lüneburg. Never mind if you don't know where Lüneburg is. I didn't know when I came there for the first time as well. So it's like south of Hamburg somewhere. And we did this. Postmedialab is actually built in cooperation with Mute magazine. Most of you may know this one. There's Josie here, and Simon is also around. And our idea actually was also to this is gone. Yeah, the idea of a postmediality, which is actually a term, of course, coined by Felix Guattari, like at the beginning of the 80s, and the idea is more or less how to foster different new kinds of collective or collectiveness of enunciation, as he says it. And in the end, it's like an idea of how to put up new kind of possibilities also for self-positioning inside this kind of media field. So you see, it's not really like an academic institution, and I think we also don't see each other in this kind of tradition. I would see, also from my point of view, I would say like more traditions like Ljudmila, for example, really a platform enables other projects, and that you can also see in the way how we structure ourselves. We have a fellowship program, and there we try to help and foster different kind of groups and individuals, of course. At the moment we have 3 fellows, like Sean is one of them over there, Inigo is one, and Gordon is also around, and we have our meta fellow, as we call him, Marcel. And the idea is, as the program and the project is going on for 2 years, that we structure it in like half-year topics, and the current topic is about the subsumption of sociality, and we just had today a reading group around this kind of topic, the work energy crisis, and some of you have been there, and those of you. Quite nice discussion, and no results in the end, but good discussions at least. And besides these fellowships, we also try to do different kind of events, like here, but we also try really to implement this kind of, let's say, more global discourses about intellectual property in Lüneburg, which is quite a big challenge. Because, I mean, we are also doing events, for example, in Berlin, but there you always find this kind of niche for any kind of audience. And in Lüneburg, actually, you have to work much more concentrated on a different kind of point. And that's, at least for me, that's quite new and yeah, challenging. But as I said, there are also other events. The next one will be, we try to put up a public school, like Sean talked about it yesterday a little bit in Berlin, which will be like the week before the Transmediale. So everybody's welcome to come there. And at the same time, at the Transmediale, we have some different kind of panels programmed there. Next thing coming up is also the Video Vortex, which was last year in Zagreb and will be next time in Lüneburg. Yay! And actually here Oliver is the one who is like in charge a little bit. And so fellowships, events, and the last one is then publications. And here we actually are, we bring out new publications, I guess, in the beginning of next year. One of them is about postmediality, one will be by Felix Stalder, and the other one by Fulvia Cannavale on human strike. And I guess very nice books, and we print them as well still, but at the same time want to put them online, and also want to try out different kind of ways of, as we call it, also hybrid publishing. So any ideas are also welcome. And if you want to contact us, it's the website is postmedialab.org.
Yeah. We'll hear more from Simon tomorrow about hybrid publishing work at the panel in Mesna Galleria. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Branimir Stojanović. I am from Belgrade, and I represent a platform, Ignorance Schoolmaster and His Committee. This is the platform who established 2011. In February. The platform had 4 editors and 4 mediators in physical space. But the first impulse is to bring history of Yugoslav humanistic, the most important, most emancipatory, and most politically conscious part of history of Yugoslavia. And this part of Yugoslav humanistic is not part of any curriculum in post-Yugoslav national states, and is some kind of out of any interest. And our platform bring all books, texts, and essays who produce 70 years very emancipatory part of Yugoslav intellectual production. This is the one point. The second point is the physical space of library, and this part is some kind practice the politic of socialism. This is the place of socialism. How produce the socialism in our time, and this part is a part of self-education. Some kind in the traditional Žiža Koto and the tradition without guarantee in the educational process and knowledge. This strategy include all social group who is excluded from society. Now in Serbia, after the 25 years of brutal privatization, this is the worker, war veterans and students. This is the most vulnerable group in Serbian society, and we some kind moderator the self-education of this group and his about his own position in society. This is our project, and we organize the reading groups, translations groups, and round table with the worker, war veteran students, and government people who have a responsibility for status of this group. And this is the most important part of our praxis. And the next year we produced the series of discussion about workers group and organization, how workers without factory organize and educate. This is the socialistic project in the first education, and for us it's a very important part of our. And next year we make some research about social property. One very interesting concept who developed in the Yugoslavia from 50s. The next. This is our project, and we have to bring society together and think together with the people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So also I recommend, if you're interested, there are like 300 books at the moment. It's still scanning on the website, Učitelj Neznalica, and we have it also here if anyone wants to get it, or like everything in once. Ljudmila.
Okay. Hi. My name is Tea. Hvala. And tonight, I would say, you have the unique historic opportunity to hear a presentation made in the name of Ljudmila by a computer analphabet. But I'm going to talk about a book sprint that we did in April this year. And the reason I got involved, and I was invited by Ida, Robertina, and who also prepared the exhibition in Škuc, about which we were writing, is because I've been really interested in the process of collective writing of fiction and exploring it in a series of workshops with lots of different people, mostly in feminist circles, so the theme was more or less feminist utopian literature. And I mentioned this because even though there the focus was on the actual process of writing, a lot of the issues that turned up there in terms of where does collaboration stop, where does collectivity begin, and so on, also turned out to be issues of worth of consideration when we were writing the catalog for the exhibition in Škuc. So maybe first just like short remark about book sprints, which probably all know them, but just in case, book sprints were devised as a, let's say, platform to test software developed by also Luca Freli, who is here, from Ljudmila, and Alexander Erkalovic, who used to be in Mama in Zagreb and is now all over the place, I think, and Adam Haip and some other people, as an open source software that would make online or offline collaboration in writing, editing, and publishing books easier. So, and also the idea when Ljudmila wanted to do like our own book sprint, the idea was both to experiment with the level of collaboration or even collectivity we could reach, and also to find bugs still and help the programmers to fix them. So, and another interesting maybe thing to mention before I go like just briefly into details about which were the problems we encountered or which were the nice results of this 4-day workshop, is that, for example, today I receive a message that I was at a conference a year ago in Vienna about queer theory and the book was released today. So, for example, a conference anthology with maybe 15 contributors who had text prepared 1 year ago took 1 year to edit, discuss, proofread, publish. And it's interesting from that aspect that the first book sprints that were, I think, organized by both Thomas Craig and Adam Haip were planned as a way to radically speed up the process of writing, publishing a book. And they said 4 months would be radically fast. And compared to that 1 year process, it is fast. And yet, it's ironic now that when you look at the book sprints that have been organized by Adam Haip lately, also, for example, the one at Berlinale 2 years ago, which resulted in this book, Collaborative Futures, took 5 days to write. And of course, the question that I ask myself and probably other people when it comes to this speeding up of production is always double-edged. On one hand, it seems an amazing achievement that in a group setting with, let's say, good facilitation, a good dinner, and good vibe, you can produce like a very, let's say, good work. And yet, on the other hand, when you know that we are living in times when everybody's pushed to produce constantly and to just to keep up with the whole rhythm, you also wonder like, what's the loss? Where's the loss in this process? Like on whose or on what account are we able like to keep on speeding the process of book production? So yeah, so Ljudmila being Ljudmila, the book sprint in Škuc didn't last 5 days, it lasted 4 days, 3 of which were dedicated to writing, and 12 people were involved in the writing process, and the last day was left for editing and dealing with problems with the software, because we encountered at the time quite a few, like formatting and so on. Page numbers, like details that took surprisingly a lot of time to take care of. And so yes, we were 12 people writing, 11 of those invited, and 1 of them turned up at the door, and we were happy it happened. Also, the person who showed up, he also contributed a text for the catalog, which looks like this. Originally without water stains. And there was 3 editors, Ida Hirschenfelder, Alenka Pirman, and me, and 1 proofreader who is also here somewhere. And so in 3 days we managed to make this catalog, which includes some pre-written texts, so texts that are written before the exhibition, introduction, description of artworks. And at the book sprint itself, we wrote like pretty much subjective like views or impressions about those artworks. And it was a mixture of people, both people who like know let's say the technical details of the computer artworks presented, and people who don't know, like who don't have the knowledge. So it was a mixture in that sense. And the last section of the book was dedicated to Ljudmila's educational work through workshops and various specific groups that function within the collective. Personally, maybe just I would say what I found interesting when I mentioned in the beginning that some of the issues that turn up when you try to develop collective, let's say, writing in fiction and work collectively throughout the whole book publishing process, more or less all involve or revolve around the issue of how inclusive is the we, the plural that we would use in the sense of like how many of the group can identify with the writing, or how many people do want to be like signed collectively, who wants to be signed individually, who doesn't want to be signed, and the shifts that happen in the meaning of that collective subject. Let's say if you compare it to classic theoretical publishing, where the we is always in the role of the legitimizing voice. In this case, I would say the texts that are written in this form, they are actually the minority, written in plural, like first person plural. I think looking at it, you get more the impression that the we is there as a means of mutually checking, verifying, correcting each other, as a let's say as a way to show the process behind this work that was eventually published, because of course there were several versions being corrected. And in that sense, I would agree with Adam Hyde, who has been writing a lot about book sprints, when he says that these books are definitely closer to a dialogue or discussion than to a monologue, or in Barth's terminology, like this could be, I think, a good example of what he called readerly texts as opposed to writerly texts. And on that subject, I think one problem that showed up in this book sprint and also in two other book sprints where I was participating, mostly in the context of visual arts, is that often it seems that like there is a sort of self-congratulatory element involved, in the sense that we all so know so well what we are doing and what we are writing about, and we're having such a good time that it happens often that the writers, and including me, forget actually about the reader, or to ask who is this meant for. And I think at the point when you forget about it, is that the book can only live if somebody is reading it. It becomes a questionable practice, maybe. And I think like we did not reflect on this issue in the sense that it would be actually included in the catalog, but it's definitely an issue to think about if there will be future book sprints organized by Ljudmila. So thanks.
Thanks, yeah. Again, I couldn't plan it. It is really great that we got this book sprint through Ljudmila, which is we also planned the book sprint when we were planning this public library, and then we somehow, because of few reasons, we didn't get, and then focused more distribution. But if we will go in the future with this, that's definitely the way to go and to cover like these issues. I would also like to mention Knjižnica pod Krošnjami, a library under Canopy, which is here. I think that yeah, it says also quite a lot on its own. I would also just like to bring. I come, Marcel, come from a multimedia institute in Zagreb, and Tommy is here, and I see this as our like a continuous work on bringing these issues of intellectual, like a restrictive regime of intellectual property, but also especially for two of us, like best friends and like partners in that sense. I see continuity. We did a system hack, a conceptual exhibition where we were narrators in a hotel room and trying to say the parallel history of development of technology through hacks. I like that a lot. We also like work a bit with WOOC on that, and then we also did freedom to creativity, another kind of festival with exhibitions, more like a science museum and things like that. So I'm really glad that that we got a chance to do that here, and that's thanks to our host Kiberpipa, who will not represent like in this circle, but yeah, I mean, not just allowing us to do this here, but also like serving us, being in this space. I really like, yeah, I'm at the end for sure, but also now I feel that I should thank them, and everything was great. So maybe we can, maybe I forgot someone, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of under that stupid stress that always happens. But if there are questions here and in public, we have microphones. So yeah, let's go further with the discussion. Questions?
I wanted to ask something about the book sprint and about the production of text in 5 days. If you notice in the process, I mean, I can imagine it's a quite involving process during the production of the book, and being a collective, it's there should be some social mechanism that are kind of spontaneously enabled. You mentioned a couple ones, like the self-congratulation between the persons involved. But after the production of the book, did you think about how the text was produced? So what I mean is that 5 days, it's enough for this collective experiment in writing, or it should be even shorter, or it should take longer? I mean, for a book, you mentioned for academic books, sometimes it takes 1 year, or it could take even more, 2 or 3 years, because there's a long process to really precisely edit and proofread the text. In this case, it's totally the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I am quite a perfectionist when it comes to the ways you formulate your thoughts, and obviously in these conditions, it seems that that's the downside, is that you have to, in a way, sacrifice the minute, how to say, like a very specific vocabulary or expression that you would use if you had, like, I don't know, 2 months to do it at least. And there is, I think the difference between, yeah, what we are used to either in academic publishing or in publishing fiction and book sprints, it's a really enormous difference. Like personally, I still, like, I'm not, it seems like 2 different worlds almost. But in most experience, including in Schoots and the workshops I was part of in Holland, actually the time spent I mentioned, let's say 3 to 5 days dedicated to the conceptualizing, discussing, finding sort of a consensus, and then the actual writing and beginnings of editing was never enough to bring that piece to the point of, let's say, where everybody would be satisfied with it and say, okay, let's publish this. So mostly in my experience, always it happened that 2 or 3 people had to take extra time and do the extra editing and communicate with the people who are no longer involved in the process to actually bring it to the completion. So to me, it's still a mystery how HAIP, for example, does it, like in 5 days. I really don't know. But for example, this book I mentioned, Collaborative Futures, that they wrote at Postmedialab, the version they actually published, like in paper format, is the revised versions, meaning that there was another 5-day workshop in New York a year later, where a new group of people revised what was written, the 30,000 characters or words written in Berlin. So, yeah. But I would say what book sprints are good for, are really good for, I think, is exactly this initial brainstorming phase when you really try to open up space for yourself, even if the starting point is like 2 keywords. I don't know, collaborative future, feminist utopia, grand domestic revolution, whatever it is. It's really good for as a brainstorming device, especially if you combine it like what I would recommend, for example, various surrealist writing techniques, collective writing techniques. You can get really, really well a much broader diapason of like just options than you would individually or like with a classic approach.
I have a question maybe for everyone here, but also for myself also. Maybe that I think one aspect of our work and our organizations, or the way our organizations work, is maybe a little bit neglected. That is, I think that all of these organizations are rather small groups of people with different maybe ways of functioning. But for me, it's interesting how in these small groups, the processes of decision making are how the decisions are made in these kind of groups. In our Center for Labor Studies, there is 4 of us, and there is no other way to do it than to sit around the table and to discuss it and to somehow to find a consensus about it. But it's interesting when maybe the group is when the group is a little bigger. Let's say 7 or 8 people. It's a little bit much more difficult situation. So I will ask maybe the guys from Tribuna, because they said that for every issue they have a completely different way how to organize the content in the newspapers, and also regarding the specific specificities of circulation of people in the faculty, and because of the maybe Bologna and all this stuff. How do you organize the decision making, and how do you and organize tasks for everyone? And how long? And do you have any kind of how do you call it, auditions or elections? How to bring new people in and that kind of stuff?
Well, we start every new issue with a well. The first thing is that we in the editorial board is 5 people, so this is a like classical hierarchy, and then we start every issue with some ideas, and then we the people who write for Tribuna. There's like 30 or 40 people. We have a mailing list, but actually I think now it's about 20 people that are active, and we just gather and we talk, and then we try to do a concept for issue. And also we use Google Docs quite simply, and we do a document, and then we just write, link things in that document, and everyone could see it, or everyone could write in it, and we try to build a concept for an issue. But we also always try to, as I said, think not to repeat things how we do it in the past. No, not quite like that. But we try to think different approaches and so on. So in a way, it's classical. It's really. But in the other way, it's not, because we try to open that process, and we believe that it could be open even more. But it really depends on the people, you know. Some they try to. Some people are active, some are not, and I think that it's still a problem in. How we think about producing a paper or a book, or in journalism and so on. We don't have in our mind, we don't have this. We still see the things in like classical way. You have an editor. Editor said this and this and this, and I think we just have to encourage writers to participate in this the whole process and so on. And we also in our last issue we try to do some more horizontal network of editing stuff. Not just texts, but also illustrations. So everyone on that mailing list could read an article from other and just comment and so on. So this kind of things. Maybe Yuri, if you had.
Yeah, just like the general idea, I think, is to try to of the editorial board is to try to really. Keep this, because people will not be horizontal and active spontaneously. You have this editorial board that tries to, you know, institutionalize this horizontality, and this is like a contradiction in a sense, but very simply it just means that, you know, you encourage people to collaborate in this process that is like. Maybe this answer was too long altogether.
Just to say, any more questions? Josie?
Yeah, it's very interesting presentations, and to go from writing collaboratively to reading with the understanding of ignorance as the outset. I suppose it's just fascinating. Generally, my impression of this conference has been the proliferation of text and the proliferation of reading that we're going through right now. And if you think about 100 years ago, large swathes of society, all societies were illiterate. So we have this transition to literacy, which is gigantic. And I think, firstly, just let's acknowledge this, you know, this massive social shift that we're going through. I suppose I just wanted to ask about how you guys are conceiving of reading as changing in, you know, in the conditions of this easy availability of digital text on the one hand, and at the other end of the pole, this, you know, closure of public libraries, rollback of bookshops, and also public education institutions. Do you, because, you know, obviously the collaborative writing process is a fascinating response to what network computing allows, also what digital forms of writing allows and so on, means to organize yourselves across continents and bring voices together. And I'm just wondering, really, I think we need to give more space to the reader here, I suppose, and just to ask, how do you see reading changing? And maybe this is a direction for your bookshop. This is I personally have a feeling that reading groups are exploding, but that could just be my friends and the groups that I circulate in. But
like Linux in my case.
Linux in your case. So that's my question.
Yeah, super. 1 year ago, I think, or something like that, maybe this spring, I wrote to a certain UK-based, it's like within the book industry, something that helps channel some payments. And they take their website seriously, and they also have a little like kind of a feature, because they're really, they work with bookshops that are located outside UK. So they kind of featured some bookshops, and they sent me these questions for interview, and I didn't have time, so I didn't answer, but 2 months later they repeated, and I did answer, and it was already like in kind of April this year, and I was already very... I told them that my situation is like, is it St. George fighting the dragon? The dragon has 3 heads. One is online retailers, the other one is digital downloads, the access, availability, and the third one was financial recession. But since I wrote that, since I kind of have a very vague sense, and I'm still very far from understanding, but I understand that in the shadow there is the 4th head of the dragon, and that one is the most mean and the most dangerous. And it's something about time. Time is being shifted. Somehow time disappears. Like my customers, they need to develop kind of a almost monastic discipline. Reading is very demanding. Bright crystals jump on us. Well, you know, I mentioned this size of the bookshop, 22 square meters and 2,000 titles, 1 lifetime. A friend of mine showed me his hard drive with all the books, you know. You remember Cambridge Companions too, and it's impressive. I really, you know, I don't want to wear a wrong uniform. I love, you know, I was young in 80s in former Yugoslavia, and when a friend of mine gave me a Xerox of a certain story by a certain Japanese author, I was touched. I even, when I ran away from my hometown, took some of those Xerox papers with me, you know, some like The Last Interview with Heidegger or something, you know, some gifts. So we used double-deck tape recorders a lot. So there is something genuinely good, genuinely noble in our need to share. You know, so it has to be public. It has to be accessible. It is like still very early, you know, and we will see the results. But the problem with all the accessibility is that we definitely don't have, you know, so many. It's the thousands of lifetimes of reading. So I guess our understanding of reading will have to change. We will not read like we used to read like 20, 30 years ago from beginning to the end. That will not happen in the future. Like, with all due respect, I mean, these kind of projects, like to write a book in 5 years. My bookshop is named after a book that a Russian author wrote in a complete secrecy last 11 years of his life. And you can just, you know, push it off the table like it's a piece of fiction. You know, it's a book, it's a novel, Master and Margarita. This is all past. We are entering a brave new world. There is one very important, although I am really on this side, and I want to wear this uniform in the war that has started, there is also another question that we should all really think about. Free access, it's a wonderful, noble thing. I'm ready to fight for it. But when somebody puts a smartphone in your pocket, he also sends you a monthly bill. There are actual wires. There are fees to be paid. These companies, you know, started 20 years ago like small startups, nice, kind of with logos like rainbowish logos. There is nothing rainbowish in a computer that I use, and I never used any other. You know, I started when those gray machines were, you know, shutting down with no reason, and that John Scully was kind of a CEO. But it's still a very good machine, but there is nothing rainbowish. It's like a Mercedes-Benz. But what I really needed, and what I started to use, was that Volkswagen Transporter, you know, 1965. We will have to think about corporations that are somehow hidden beneath free access and sharing in those hardwires, in those monthly bills that we get. But this is not about reading no longer, sorry. Yeah, the reading. One more question is Alejandro Jodorowsky, I think, once mentioned that Twitter is today's haiku. I wonder, is Twitter haiku?
I think that we have time for one more question because we will go to the opening of the exhibition Dear Art. Kind of made a bridge in between these two events. That exhibition, they kind of promote us as some setup, and we also kind of promote. It's kind of works well. It's really nice that it happened at the same time on a day of Republic of Yugoslavia.
Actually, my history is not as much involved with books as maybe the histories of many of the people on the panel here and around. I actually kind of grew up on television, so maybe that's an excuse for my heretic question, or the questioning of, kind of the productive questioning of, how do we go beyond the nostalgia of the book? Because I mean, there's this discussion, the age of the book has passed and it was of a special kind, and you could argue the library maybe already has been replaced in the first step by the videothek at some point, and there always have been other media as well. And as I understand, everybody sitting there is actually representing not kind of the book culture, but also, not only the book culture, but also kind of a critical social praxis of different sorts. I'm wondering, how do you relate to what you're doing with the focus on books or newspapers, to this opening up of the mediascape that we see at the moment? Because I would say the big promise of this moment is not to be a soldier in the saving of the book, but being kind of an expedition in the rediscovery of the book and what it actually meant and what kind of potentials it held, but maybe also seeing some of the old restrictions which the old types of books had. So I'm just wondering, how do you embed your practices of the book and writing and reading into a larger scale set of kind of medial and social practices. So.
I said that it's a last question, but I can't resist. Tommy just also raised the head. So if I would like to go for that one. Anna? You didn't? Come on.
Between DPU and Center for Worker Studies, and I don't know, Gerusia in Novi Sad, some people in Belgrade, but also further on, you could see that there is at the moment a kind of level playing field. We are moving in pretty much the same reception horizon in reflecting the contemporary transformations of the society, at least what concerns the availability of literature. And I think that has been like a big change, just like being in a small place called Zagreb at the end of the world in 1990s, that has now a completely different, that's a different place now in terms of access to theory, at least. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I would like to remind, this is like now we are kind of closing, so we have a question, how do we deal with nostalgia and how do we deal with the end of the world, kind of? Sorry. Yeah, you said.
I agree with Tommy completely, because it was very easier for us, like for our some kind of intellectual development, and also for our sharing our preoccupations with the people with a similar interest. This in last 5, let's say, years, this sharing of digital books and dissemination of the books around the internet, I can say that that's probably one of the most important things that happened in my life. This dissemination and access to books, and also it was crucial how to somehow it's a crucial resource that you can use it without. Let's say in this way, that now maybe with this digital sharing and accessibility of books, the university isn't anymore this central point for education, especially in a political sense, especially in not just in post-Yugoslav context, but also around Europe, but in post-Yugoslav context, especially what was going on, the revisionism, on the nationalist revisionism and other ones on the university in the 90s and later on, and this was a huge resource for everyone born in the late 80s, let's say, or the 80s and the late 80s, how and to find out some things that weren't accessible, like Tom said, in the beginning in the 90s on the Faculty of Humanities, Social Studies in Zagreb. And I think it's really huge and important. It had a huge political impact.
Nowadays that it's no longer contingent what books you get access to, what do you get to read, which was previously the case. I think that a filter no longer being contingency is much more your fellows, your peers, your co-readers. I think that is maybe why this element of sociality is so expressed nowadays in terms of what you read and how do you get to what's relevant to read. Yeah.
So Dragan and we are just please close the session.
Well, okay, then if I do have the honor of trying to wrap this up, but let me try, as far as this question is concerned that came from over there, let me try to put forward a counter-heresy first. This is a technology called paper. The reason why I'm doing this, I don't think it's that much nostalgia, but something else. Say that it has an end bibliography at the end. See, it's a technology called paper that you need this other technology called thumbs. and you need a second and a very clear move to reach that thing. It's a very portable technology, very light, very simple to use, and a very clear organization of content. Now, this is something that readers have not yet achieved. To reach a bibliography on a Kindle is a much more complicated process than it is with a book. And this is not a nostalgia, but a challenge for the future. And the problem that we're facing, what you have mentioned several times, is that we have several companies with an agenda of global domination in terms of monopolies. Compare PDFs and readers, and not to mention the academic monopolies of journals and things like that, with, say, I don't know, graphic editors or media players. How much this process of compatibility is moving slower, and it has some obstacles to surmount. And this is something that I would not describe as clinging to nostalgia, but as a challenge for the future. And well, I wouldn't say that it's that much a big qualitative change. It will be just a quantitative one. I mean, in the end, we're just talking about public accessibility of information. I mean, a coffee shop was a similar innovation, wasn't it? You had people meeting and discussing things, and subject A knew what subject B was thinking, and subject B knew what subject A was thinking. And well, okay, I mentioned one, which is a technological obstacle, and the other one is this proliferation of information, which we're need to organize in a way. And well, Tomislav mentioned the aspect of sociability. I think it connects with the proliferation of reading groups. It's this huge influx of information, and people just trying to figure out ways how to establish what to read, because it's a more difficult choice among 10,000 titles than it is among 2,000. It's as simple as that, I suppose. So yeah, a bit more technological innovation, open source, of course, and new platforms of exchanging ideas and how to evaluate what do you want to read. That, I suppose, it's a change for the future and a catalyst for something better onwards.
Okay, thank you all. Yeah, okay, quick. Sorry, it was quick.
When we're talking about books, I think it's not, for me, it's not important just if book is printed or is digital PDFs and so on, but the idea of a book, and that thing I think is changing now. We think of book as some closed system and so on, and I think that new technologies now are pushing us towards a book as more liquid, or how to say. And if you read Deleuze and Guattari, like Thousand Plateaus and Anti-Oedip, they are talking about, I think, these new kinds of books. So I think we must think also in that way. So
yeah, we will think in that way. Thank you very much all. Yeah, so.